Hey everyone,
Hey everyone, I am Nidhi.
I am Neha, the co founder and co host of the initiative Chocolate and Spice Talk. As a 45 years old, I recently shared my evolution in personal and professional life, and today we have a very special guest who will share what late 40s means.
We have Sarah Torres on the show. Sarah is one of my favorite people ever. I met Sarah a couple of years back when we were working together. She was actually my manager. She really helped me with my career, and even though we went our separate ways, we always kept in touch. And it's an honor to have her on a podcast to talk about health, wellness, and so many other things.
Awesome, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us. Very, very happy to have you here and learn from your lived in experiences.
Thanks for having me.
All right, I think we should just jump right into it because we have so much to cover. So, Sarah, was there a specific moment, a health scare, a wake up call that made you stop and think, I need to do things differently?
Yeah, but it wasn't really mine. So my father had his first heart attack when he was 39, and I was about 8 years old, which was terrifying as a kid to be in the car going with my father to the hospital and waiting in a room to find out what was happening. He turned out fine. He is still alive and kicking, almost 80 years old, and three more heart attacks later. And I didn't give it that much more thought until I was in my late 30s and I went in and got a cholesterol check, and my cholesterol was 214, which was surprising because I'm slim, I eat well. I didn't think about myself as having particular health risks, but to hit that same age and to realize that I kind of got dealt a bad genetic hand from that perspective was eye opening.
Wow. So, you would say the blood test that you got done in your late 13 was kind of, brought out all of these
Mhm.
things that you were not anticipating, right? So, was that
Absolutely.
shocking? That was,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And did your doctor, do you think that they took your concern seriously right away, or did you had to fight back for it?
I mean, they took it more seriously than I did, to be honest. So, I mean, on one hand, there's that kind of like that echo of like childhood memory and the realization that I am now as old as my father was then, which was wild, right? You don't think about that as a kid. And I went to the cardiologist and he's like, okay, I want to put you on a statin. And I was like, well, let's not be hasty. Maybe I can change my diet. Maybe I can do some things. And so we basically haggled, and he's like, I will give you 6 months to try to reduce your cholesterol by diet. And if not, I'm putting you on a statin. And I ate a lot of oatmeal, tried to like be as healthy as I could diet wise. And it went down a little bit. I think I went to like 199 on my own. And he was like, that's not going to be good enough for the family history that you have. And so I am now on a statin. Yeah. I mean, I didn't have to convince the medical establishment that, as a young woman, I needed to be worried because family history did all the talking for me.
And what is the average for our audience who don't know the average that it should be?
Oh gosh. I mean, what they really want is for your LDL to be below 100, and my LDL was like 150. And there's kind of that additive of LDL and HDL, and like you kind of want your HDL to be high. So when I say that my cholesterol was 214, that a little bit kind of like obscures the ratio between the two, but my low was way too high and my high was okay, but not great. And so I had room to improve on both.
Yeah, for me too. I think I have a similar story. Last year, early last year in January, I was 39, and it was a wake up call for me too. I got my blood test, and on paper, everything looked fine. But my HbA1c, which is like the test that shows your average blood sugar, that shows for the last 2 months, 3 months, and it came back 5.6, which is technically still like normal range, but it was certainly on the higher edge. And I was not expecting that. So I was completely shocked. And I could certainly see that this was creeping. That could possibly creep over time. Plus, both of us have family history of diabetes, and we both had gestational diabetes when we were pregnant. So we can see it coming. But my goal is to delay it. Like, this is inevitable. We will have it. I don't think there is any stopping that. I have made peace with it, but I can delay it and still lead a healthy life. And that's when I started wearing my glucose monitor. So nobody told me to do it. Like, doctor was like, you'll be fine. You're not overweight. Your BMI is fine. But this was like proactive from my side. It's like, I think I need to pay a little bit more attention. What kind of food spikes my blood sugar, and how can I keep my spikes under range so that I don't become insulin resistance? So yeah, I mean, these blood tests are really eye opener. Even when you're not expecting anything, they might show something that is so different.
Yeah, and I love that we as women are able to take control of our bodies and are able to be proactive about it instead of waiting for something to happen to us. Like, if there is technology that can help us, like, use the technology, figure something out. And that does not mean you have to follow all of the doctor's orders. You can then figure solutions out for yourself. Like Sarah, you said you did try to change your diet, which I'm sure over the longer years will be beneficial, even with or without statin. And Nidhi, of course, I know your story and you've shared multiple times. I have similar like wake up calls in multiple other health scenarios. But Sarah, today it's all about you, so we'd love to hear more of what went after.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh, go ahead.
No, I mean, last question on this is, do you think your background or cultural upbringing shaped how you prioritize yourself? Like in a lot of our families, like with Neha and my family, we belong to South Asian family where you take care of yourself last. And even though our dad is a doctor, we saw a lot of proactiveness, but still it was like, you wait till the last moment. Proactiveness is not a part of culture. We got out of that mold, and we are doing good for ourselves. But I think yeah, what's your view on your background and your family?
I don't think that there was any sense of like that I need to care for myself last or not be proactive, but you all did an episode on fixed versus growth mindset that I think is actually the right one. I was raised essentially with the perspective of like, you are who you are. And, you're not an exercisey kind of person. That's not going to change. Better living through chemistry, just pop pills. And I think it took, that was the mold that I needed to break out of, to realize that, like, sure, I can pop pills and just kind of sit back and wait for genetics to take over, or I can have a little bit more control over my own situation. The fact that, I mean, I was never an exercisey kind of person. I ate healthy enough, but not like in an intentional way, but I can change those things, and I can get more control over my own destiny. And so, like, I think genetics is kind of the guardrails that we live within, but we can choose like which side of the road to be on based on our own choices.
Yeah, absolutely. There's this concept of epigenetics, I think, which is essentially there are all kinds of genetic, stories and treasures hidden in our bodies, and which side do you want to pick can often be determined by how you frame your life. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about, which is amazing. All right. Just talking about the food that you just mentioned earlier. So, what did your kitchen or what did your plate look like before this change and after?
So I love food. So we're now going into my favorite territory to talk about. I like to cook, and I like to cook from scratch and at home, and creative things, but it had always been more meat heavy, less whole foods, whole fiber, plenty of vegetables, but that was maybe the one good aspect of it. And so initially, like the first couple of years after deciding like I'm going to get a handle on this, because at the same time I also started to have some inflammatory related issues. Ulcerative colitis runs in our family. I got diagnosed with dry eye, and the ophthalmologist was like, you have a lot of inflammatory stuff going on. She's like, you ought to think about a Mediterranean diet. And so I started to look into that, and I was like, okay, I can kind of adapt this. Like, I see what's happening. You don't have to like literally eat Italian food every day to eat Mediterranean. But I was like, okay, I can see different, like where the omega-3s come in. So more olive oil, less butter, more emphasis on chicken and seafood instead of red meat, more whole grains and that kind of thing. So I started a shift to that. And then I started a shift further. So that was kind of the first couple of years. And then 2 years in, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go pescatarian. I never used to like seafood before. I taught myself to like it. Taught my daughter to like it too. She was not a fan initially, but we really shifted. So over the last 8 years, at this point, we'll have seafood maybe twice a week, and tofu, beans, seitan, lentils, like for all of the other proteins. Other nights, tons of vegetables. Like my shopping cart is almost half vegetables. Lots of the whole grains, you know, the quinoa and the wild rice, and we switched from white to brown rice, and you know, just like all that kind of stuff to just, it feels better. Like first, my cholesterol numbers have gone way down. I now have my LDL like one tick below 100. It's like at 99. My markers of inflammation went from, on a scale of 1 to 10, 9 to 2, which I feel very good about. My HDL is like well above 50. And so like on by all of the measures that I can test with blood markers, everything's going really well. And it also feels better. We don't feel as like heavy. It doesn't feel like every night is having a Thanksgiving dinner. You know, like just, yeah, feel well energized, healthy. When I do have like a treat kind of thing, and I mean, it's almost not even a treat anymore to go have like battered cod and fries, like a fish, like a fish fry or something. It feels so heavy and gross. And I can't eat like that anymore.
Pescatarian diet is that the only meat you allowed is fish? Is that the concept? Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. I loved when you said, it makes you feel good. And of course, the numbers showed it as well, because clearly food is the best medicine here, right? Like the ability of body to change based on the external changes via food. I find that fascinating. I just love these stories. Thank you for sharing, Sarah.
And
You
you
did
develop
mention your
taste
daughter.
to it. Yeah. And she mentioned the daughter got used to it. That is such a starting point, right?
I was gonna be like, you're so lucky you love cooking, because if you know Nidhi and I, like, I'm not the one who like to cook, but I cook. Nidhi is the one who is the real cook and cooks really well. So I was wondering like how your family handled the changes in your recipe, which I'm sure like you had to make a massive changes in how you cooked and what you cooked with.
Yeah. And I mean, and it was kind of over the course of a couple of years. And so there was like a little bit of a getting used to it process. But my daughter was 10 when all this started. And that's not necessarily an age where you want to like let go of your favorite things that mom has been making. So I did embrace some of the fake meats as the bridge to be able to still make meatballs, but with like impossible, meat and sausage and stuff. That way my daughter can still have like lasagna that tastes pretty close to the way she's used to it, because like she has things that she loves, right? Like food is very much love in this household. I asked both of them, both my husband and my daughter. I was like, so how did this go? I don't want to assume. And my husband was like, he's like, I like to eat, I like to be healthy, so turns out I'm more adventurous than I thought. I like all this stuff. And so like he was very much on board. There was no convincing necessary. I asked my daughter, and she was like, you know what? It was really hard at first. And, and you were cooking all of these different things and the seafood, which I didn't like. She's like, but I turned out to like it. And that she actually found a bunch of vegetarian things that she likes, and she'll now cook those for herself. And so she says that now that she eats out on her own, like she will have meat, but like also not every night. And it's like, you know what? That's great. Like you do you and adapt to what you need. But I like that that she understands what it means to cook healthy, and that she does cook and take the time and take care of herself and take care of her health.
That's amazing. And it shows that you changed the mindset already at a much younger age. So hopefully, it's going to impact her positively as she's growing up, which is, the best we can hope for. I was also wondering, you mentioned you feel so good. One component is, of course, food. The other component is like exercise and sleep and just stress reduction. How did you manage all of that?
So in stages and some of it, like sometimes things happen sort of external to us that, I don't know, like we benefit from, but don't necessarily like, I can't claim credit for. Right around the time that all this was happening, I happened to join a company that had a really big focus on wellness. And so they brought in a meditation specialist. There was a lot of like talk about like, how do we do, oh gosh, what's it called? Not meditation, but the mindfulness. And so I started a mindfulness practice that has since lapsed. I probably need to get back into, but that was part of it. Becoming a lot more aware of water consumption. I was not drinking enough. Now I try to stick to close to 100 ounces a day. Better respect for sleep and having an actual schedule and like how important that is. And so all those things kind of layer on. And then when I was 45, I realized that, I had always had a goal that by 50, I would start like doing something about my bones so that way I wouldn't end up a frail 80-year-old. And I realized like 50 is around the corner. I need to probably kind of get on that. And I was just never a sporty kid. And so I had always had it in my mind of like, well, I'm a bookworm. I'm not the kind of person who does sports. But I mean, again, like we can choose these things. I had chosen that identity and that identity can morph. And so when I told my husband, who is very sporty, that I wanted to maybe start resistance training, he was so excited. He's like, I'll show you what to do. I'll get you all set up. And so I joined a gym. I need that external motivation of like, I'm paying money and I need to get my value out of it. And at first I did not love it. But I've seen myself over the last few years, like getting stronger. I am stronger now than I have ever been in my life. And I feel more capable of being able to like go do physical things, to lift heavy stuff, to like, I'm not really a runner, but to at least run a little bit and not be totally out of breath. Again, like I'm never going to be a marathon runner. I'm never going to win any contests for weightlifting. But I'm in a better situation now than I was a few years ago. And I feel like it sets me up well for the next stage of life.
I love everything. Like, if I could give you thumbs up, I was like, where are my thumbs up emoticons? I wanted to give you that because something very similar happened to me, and I recently shared on our chat as well, which is like as I turned 45. Actually, as I turned 40, this thing had started to linger on my head. I'm a pretty petite person, and I have very narrow bones. I was like, what should I do? But oh my gosh, who's gonna lift weights? And resistance training feels so hard. And I've seen Nidhi doing, like my sister's been doing it for a while, and even that didn't inspire me. And it just took me to like a couple of years back. It just hit me that if I don't do it now, it's gonna be bad. And the way it hit me was also terrible. It was because I started getting back pains, and I'm at a desk job, right? And my neck pain and back pain, and I'm like, oh no, okay, I will do some exercise, it'll get better. And then I read somewhere, well, you got to make your like body better, like your muscles stronger. That's what's going to change it. And that's when I literally changed my mindset, which is like, no, I cannot have hacks every time something goes wrong. I have to get stronger internally. And then I started following a full training plan. So very much resonating with your story.
I've been telling her to weightlift for last 15 years. I started like I was in a friend circle that was lifting, like, there was into exercise, and that's how I got into it. And I would do it like, whatever I could manage at that time when I was 25, but I continued. And I kept telling her, she's like, oh, that's not my style. But eventually we realize in 30s, 40s, 50s, it's like building muscle is what we say is putting money in the bank for our future self. And that's when, now she has this whole routine. And we did an episode on habit building, and she talked about how her living room has little weights because we do home workout, because you put it in front of you, it's hard to miss. So whatever helps.
100%. I think you mostly covered it, but was there any specific, or would you like to recommend any books or apps or communities to our audience which could help them with this?
I mean, I'm kind of a like science gal. And so for each one of the different diagnoses and stuff that I've gotten or reading up on, like, what's the story with omega 3s? Like, my go-to is the New England Journal of Medicine and journal articles like that. They're not the easiest to read, but I worked at a healthcare software company for almost 8 years. And so like kind of learned how to work my way through like what's there and understanding studies and outcomes and recommendations and what's really applicable to me. So I don't know, it's not the most universally applicable advice. Most people are not going to go pick up journal articles, but I found those to be helpful in really navigating what are the impacts, what kind of populations were these studied on, to be able to get a sense for that. And otherwise it's just kind of doing it, like for me, it's less about finding an exact perfect approach or somebody who's inspirational, but rather just for myself, building like step one. Like to your point, I actually over there have little 3-pound weights that are so that way I can just pick them up and use them, and they're just available. And so I guess from that perspective, like there are some books on habit building that it would be useful, but for me it's more just kind of like the practical, like just literally do one sit up today, and if that was not terrible, maybe do a second one, and then if that was not terrible, maybe do a third one, and kind of baby stepping into it and realizing that I'm more capable than I thought. And for me, that was enough to get past some of the barriers that I had built for myself.
That's my favorite kind of healing, which is listen to your body. Everybody else is listening to theirs, and that's the thing that they are sharing. You listen to your body, and then always verifying whatever somebody else is telling you, because you have to figure it out for yourself. So to your point, if it's going to be I'm sorry, I forgot the medical journal that you mentioned, but I've actually read that medical journal as well, which is, yes, these headlines can promise you a bunch of things, but it may not necessarily be applicable to you. So do your own research, dig deep, and then apply it to yourself and see if that experiment on yourself actually worked. Like, be your own science experiment
Yeah.
and like verify via external facts. Love it.
And also pushing yourself. I think even though started weight training very early in my 20s, I used to do the bare minimum. Like if the app, I used to follow apps, if it says 10, even though I could actually lift 15, I would just stick to the 10. And now I'm getting older. I don't know if it's wisdom or I don't know what it is. My sister would say, give credit to yourself. Don't say that it's your hormone. But I think now I have the courage and the confidence that if I think I can lift 10, I actually always go for 12, because that's when I realized I can actually lift more, I can actually do more, I challenge myself. So yeah, that's another great thing about getting older. Yeah.
100%. I think that is the whole point, like resistance training.
Yeah.
Until it starts resisting, you like push yourself. And I was the same. I'm like, this is it. If I do any more, I'm sure I'll fall sick. And like it was in my mind. And so I think my body showed it until I think you showed. And my son is, very good at like physical training. And so he showed me, he's like, no, until you literally cannot lift anything, keep pushing yourself. I'm like, oh, is that how it is? Well, is that the formula? I thought just lift as much as you can lift. Nope. When you can't anymore, that's when you stop.
Wow. All right. Moving on to our next section, which is, I think you touched a little bit about it, but is there anything more you want to talk about? Do you think how your husband and your daughter, now that you're living so differently, how do they benefit from the choices you made? Or do you think there is a ripple effect from everything that you're doing differently now?
So I think it's different, right? Like I think my daughter, because of the age that she was in watching all this, it's like gentle rain falling. And so I have never told her that she needs to do things because I don't think that works. It's also not fair, right? She's at a different age and stage, and she will make decisions and get to things when she's ready. But I've also been open about all of what I'm doing and why. So I didn't hide from her that like, oh, my cholesterol is high, or I'm worried about these inflammatory diseases. I don't try to scaremonger, but it's just, here's what I'm seeing and here's what I'm doing. And it's fine. And look, I actually changed and I didn't think I could do this. And now here I am. I'm at the gym. Like who would have thought that 10 years ago? And so I think for her, it's being able to observe that change is possible and that you don't have to be perfect to be better. And she'll incorporate that into her life. I feel fully confident without me being like pushy about it. My husband is his own person, right? Who makes his own choices on food and activity and all those kind of things. And in general, his choices are often healthier than mine, if we're really honest. So I think it's almost like an additive, him seeing me join the gym, like that spurred him. He's like, you know what? I've been wanting to join a tennis league. And so he did that. And so it's like, it's almost we build upon each other's choices of like, oh, that's a really great idea, or that's inspirational, or oh, that reminds me that I've been wanting to do that. And now's the time. And then also just to have fun with food. And, like I made these seitan huaraches for lunch today with like black beans and corn. And these are amazing. And he was excited about them too. And it's just like, it's fun to experiment and do new things with other people because, I don't know, they reflect back your excitement.
That's beautiful. And I know you were so disciplined about food. There was one time you told me you actually have like a chart on your fridge that what you're going to make. So
Mhm.
everybody is well aware what's
Yep.
coming. So that's planned. There this is the choice you get, and that's what I do at my home too. It's like I don't ask anybody what you want to eat today. This is what I'm cooking, and I'm responsible for food, and I like to eat a balanced diet. So the
Mhm.
whole family benefits if we own this process, and whoever can own, like Neha, in your house, Giaji, my brother-in-law, owns a lot of it, but they make good intentional decision, and now the whole family benefits from it. So that's wonderful.
100%. I have
100%.
my list right here. This is, I
Oh,
go to the store once a week. There's a list. And also, because there's only two of us, like if I get a head of cabbage, we're not throwing away a head of cabbage. We're having cabbage twice that week. And so, like, having the plan of, like, okay, I'm making this one night, and then with the leftovers, here's what I'm doing with it. It lets me kind of eat well, but also like responsibly, so we're not throwing out half the food that we buy.
love it. I like Nidhi said, in my house, my husband is the one who is really good at cooking and likes to cook more. So we kind of decide like anything protein he cooks. We tend to eat lean protein or mostly like lentils and tofu, that kind of thing. And then I'm responsible for vegetable, which is like I just stir fry a bunch of different vegetable morning and night, and then we'll just rotate that. And because again, it's the two of us. When our son comes, then he's a little bit more demanding. He's like, "Well, what's for dinner?" I'm like, "Oh man, just the normal protein and vegetable won't cut it anymore." So then we get a little fancy.
All right. I think you already covered it that your husband is all on board on it. There's no pressure of on your marriage because of the changes that you made, and everything stayed. So that's beautiful. I think that's the goal. But Neha, anything else on it?
No, I think this is very, very helpful. I was wondering, um, you know, we talked about a little bit about culture and just the upbringing, and you did mention that you thought like you are fixed as you are, and you'd pop a few pills and your health will be fine. Um, would could you expand a little bit more on how that could have turned wrong and how you actually changed your mindset to turn it the way positive that you are at right now?
Yeah, I mean, I feel slightly bad for outing my brother's health approach on this, but and because he's actually also been very physically active as he's gotten older, but we've taken very different approaches on food. We also have different genetics, right? Different people, like every human being out there has different genetics. So though he and I are close on that, but I think I took a lot more lifestyle modifications, and I don't take any medications for inflammatory stuff, and he takes some really powerful things to manage it. And so it's a little bit like as close an experiment as we can do on if you take more control over your life, you don't have to be as dependent on some of these chemicals that can have, frankly, really, really rough side effects or be really expensive. And so, it's been worth it for me to, as much as I can, be able to age as well as I can, even if that means doing things that are uncomfortable or different or that initially I don't know if I like having seafood. Sure did not like seafood 10, 15 years ago. And so that was the thing where I'm like, well, I'm going to have to figure this out and be uncomfortable for a bit in order to have things go better later. And I'm glad that I did.
Love it. And everybody grows at their own pace and learns at their own pace. Like Nidhi and I are sisters, some things with food I changed very early in my life, which she took time to change. And like we talked about the physical training aspect, she changed very early, and it took me a long while to understand how beneficial certain kind of exercise is. And then hopefully we all turn out fine. But yeah, the goal is to be as healthy as possible for as long as possible.
I,
So
I I always make fun of my sister that every time she visits me, she's on a new diet because she's figuring out what sits well with her gut. There's one time she's vegan. There's one time she's eating high protein. There's one time. Now you are good, right,
I'm
Neha?
good. No, I'm good.
You
Yeah,
are
because
good.
I truly believe in not sticking, like for me, growth mindset means keep trying different things, and it's okay. Like there is nothing, there is no wrong thing. There is no wrong approach. everything is iterative, and everything is additive. And so I absolutely do not regret having spent some time doing what I did, because that helped me learn and my body learn what's better. And right now I'm at a stage where I kind of know what I like and what I don't, but quite possible my body changes when I'm 50, and then I just make a different decision. So that's how I go. And which is why I love when you said I listen to my body, and if my body's saying this is working out fine, this is great. Because everybody's body is different. um, as a final takeaway, if and we have a lot of folks in our audience who are in their late 30s, 40s, and 50s, and if they're feeling overwhelmed with making a change, what would you suggest to them as the kind of first step to take this week?
Better is not the enemy of perfect, right? Like I think that we live in a society, and so many of us are in families and in kind of like communities where being perfect and optimizing and all these things is a really big push. And I think that it's too much, because you set yourself up for like, well, if I can't do it perfect, I shouldn't do it at all. And I think that even if you do things a little bit better than yesterday, then that's already great. Like the idea of, again, like do a sit up. And if that is the one sit up you do today and you didn't do any yesterday, congratulations, you're a little bit better. And to just kind of take everything that perspective. I will say that in the plant-based diet, I have what is known as the pepperoni loophole. On Fridays, we have pepperoni pizza. It's not the healthiest thing. It is not plant-based. But if that's my loophole that lets me in other ways, like feel like I've indulged, I'm not denying myself something that I love, and the other 20 meals of the week are all super healthy, great. Then it's a great loophole. And I'm not imperfect. I just have a very realistic balance that is frankly sustainable for the next 40 years. And so I think just like figure out what your personal loopholes need to be and what that little bit better today is. And I think that that's enough.
I love it. We're calling it loophole because we all want that, right? Like yesterday, I was like all dinner done, everything. We're sitting in front of TV, ready to sleep, and I'm like, man, I'm hungry. And my husband's like, oh, let's eat some fruit. I'm like, nope, I know what I want, and I got a slice of white bread and some butter. That's what I wanted.
You got white bread and butter. That is
Sometimes, yeah, because I typically don't eat bread at all, and just I was just like, I don't know, I was craving bread. Maybe it was on TV or something. Like, let's listen to the body. Let's just do it once. It's okay.
wonderful. That was so much fun, Sarah. I mean, I think we got so much out of it, and just as you said, just taking the first step, even if it's like small, but do what's best for you, and kind of being consistent. Like keep adding to that, and I think that is what brings transformation in your life if that's what you want to.
Thank you again for joining us, Sarah, and sharing your thoughts and your journey, because we truly believe everyone's journey is so unique. And the more we listen to ourselves and allow ourselves to grow, the better the society will be, because each one of us would have grown, to being our best selves. So really appreciate your time.
I agree. Thanks again for inviting me. This was fun.
Thank you so much for joining us on Chocolate and Spice Talk. If you found this conversation useful, please follow us anywhere you find the podcast. The more you engage, the more it'll reach the right audience.
Yep. And like I said earlier, this is an initiative which intends to help people of all kinds, all viewpoints, all ages. And the more you share with us, the more we're able to uplift each other and learn from each other. So please feel free to DM us, send us messages, add comments. The more we hear, the more we're able to bring different kinds of topics to this show.
Thank you. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.